Greetings, my slimes. Today we are talking about Tokyo Xtreme Racer, a new arcade racer that recently dropped, and I have been very much enjoying it. I just beat the first act, I suppose, of the game, which is the extent of the career mode available in the early access version of the title. They're introducing new stories and concepts in the game as the dev team progresses, but currently there's already a ton of hours you can invest in the game just racing people on the streets of Tokyo. Very, very enjoyable game. And I want to get into why I think this game is super important for the sort of automotive video game landscape right now. I am not a fan of Forza. I never have been. I tried to get into it because, everybody was playing Forza and it just was not for me. I found it very dull, very boring, hard to relate to. Horizon in particular, I didn't like the atmosphere to me. One big thing that was off-putting in Horizon for me was the music. I did not like the music. I didn't even like the music in Forza Motorsports. Really, right now, I'm just sipping on that haterade, going ham on Forza, but I am the kind of person who really, really enjoyed Underground 1 and 2, and also Street Racing Syndicate, Midnight Club. Those sort of arcade racers spoke to me on another level. The first kind of more sim-oriented racer I played was Gran Turismo, but even then that was way, way, way back, PS3 days, and really not even comparable to something like Assetto Corsa, which I also enjoy. So to me, Forza kind of sat in the middle and occupied this weird space in the racing game genre, and I didn't really enjoy my time with it. I still played a fuckload of it because everybody played Forza. It was the go-to game. But recently, Night Runners also came out. Great fucking game. And now we have Tokyo Xtreme Racer, which is the return of a franchise that has been dead for a long time. And this is a great title. I never played the original Tokyo Xtreme Racer games, but I have watched the playthroughs and gameplay footage. It's a little bit before my time, but I definitely thought that those were really cool games. It's just, I didn't expect them to be releasing a new title. So, yeah, basically, if you're a fan of Initial D, Midnight Wangan, the JDM kind of street racing, highway racer sort of vibe, you'll really fuck with this game. There's quite a few vehicles available already, but the aftermarket, I'm really car-brained right now. The modding community has added a lot of other models already, I believe. The modding community is pretty active. Excuse me. Had to burp. But yeah, it's a fucking good game. I really enjoyed the characters. The characters are funny. The writing is funny. A lot of the translations to English, I don't know if it's intentional, but it's funny. It adds character. I fuck with it. If you've known anything about Japanese car culture, sometimes you'll see nonsensical English words plastered on cars, and I fuck with it heavy. I think it's cool as fuck, because we do the same thing in North America. We could be fucking putting, a window banner on our car that says "Eat my ass" in Japanese lettering, and we would never know, but we would still think it's cool. So there's lots of cool character names. It's very anime core. It's very uwu. I fuck with that part heavy. Furthermore, the music is banger. There's not a lot of tracks yet. I do hope they add more, because I'm gonna be honest, eventually I muted the background music to play my own Eurobeat, but it's super Initial D Eurobeat inspired. And right away, it sets that vibe, that precedence from when you first load into the game. So I really appreciate that. And I think that's the direction that franchise has always leaned into, kind of defined that sort of genre. Now, The racing itself, very good sensation of speed late game. Early game, you're going to feel very, very slow. And I think that's okay. I started off with the A86 and yeah, it's really underpowered. But as you continue and progress, you have like a perk tree and you can unlock different perks because everything is based off of this stamina point battle system where you engage in a street race and you have to run the other person out of stamina points. It's kind of like a cat and mouse game. If you've ever watched Toge videos on YouTube, you kind of know what this is. You can deplete their points even without overtaking them. So ultimately, you're trying to just deplete that other person's amount of points. So most of the time, you're starting behind the other racer and you're chasing them. On occasion, you'll engage in like random boss battles where they'll be following you. I like that a lot. There are no real like other drifting mechanics or anything. Like Night Runners, you have like your street races and then you have like your drag racing. Night Runners is obviously going to be the most comparable title because it's kind of like a spiritual successor indie game to the Tokyo Xtreme Racer vibe. Night Runners still stands on its own. I don't even think there's any point trying to draw conclusions over which game is better. Because Night Runners is way, way, way more in the vibe department. They have like a lot of like cool jungle music and like hyper pop tracks in that game. I actually saved a lot of the tracks from Night Runners to my Spotify playlist just because it's such a banger soundtrack, even more so than Tokyo Xtreme Racer. And the game itself is obviously a little bit smaller in scope than Tokyo Xtreme Racer, but in terms of like picking up your controller and just like vibing out, I think Night Runners is amazing. But yeah, Tokyo Xtreme Racer has a lot. Like, you can level up your attack and defense in battles. You unlock different aftermarket upgrades. The upgrade system is very linear. I would love to see one of these games with like the aftermarket of Forza, but the mechanic and vibes of like a Tokyo Xtreme Racer game. I'm not sure if that's really part of their plan. Like, the upgrade system is very linear. It's kind of like I'm getting the next power upgrade or whatever, like when I get enough battle points or something. You're not really like building unique different combinations for any specific purpose. It's just kind of like as you progress through the game, your cars get faster and faster. In that sense, it's very linear, but it's also very satisfying. And to be fair, most arcade racers are going to work out that way. Even the tuning in the game doesn't feel quite as intricate as something like Gran Turismo or Forza. Obviously, like, this is not a racing sim at all. It's super, super casual. But a lot of the time, I found myself kind of chinsing out the system to win. I did try and tune my RX-8 late game to beat Shua Strong, who is fucking impossible to beat for some reason. Cinderella After Midnight or whatever, the final boss, beat her first try. But the Shua guy and his fucking Mazda 3, dude. Mazda 3s are not that fast in real life. I know this for a fact. They're slow as fuck. So unless in Japan they've got some fucking Ching Chong China Chargers that they're bolting onto those Mazda 3s, they are not that fucking fast. And Shua Strong, I had to cheese the fuck out of him to beat him. I literally pushed him down the map into like a corner so he couldn't catch me on the straightaway, and I managed to beat him. I think the only way to beat him is if you're really goated with your nitrous. And maybe the RX-8 wasn't the play. Maybe the S15 was better. But by the end of the first kind of act, I guess, by the end of the early access game, you don't have access to all of the vehicles. You only have access to, like, I think, like, tier 3 or 4 upgrades. And, like, a couple of cars, and to me the RX-8 was the most goated one. But yeah, had to burp again. Anyways, regardless, there's some, you know, I don't even know if they're complaints. I think it's just early access. It's definitely worth the price. It's like $39.99 Canadian right now. So like for me, no problem. I've already dumped a ton of hours into the game. And even though I've beat early access, I'll still play it a lot and probably like do another playthrough. Because I did waste money. Like there are certain points of the game where you have to buy like different cars and stuff to beat different wanderers. I think I still have like 2 or 3 wanderers too to beat. So they're not important for like beating the actual like, I guess, main campaign, if you can even call it that. And there's a lot of writing in dialogue that's really interesting to discover, like little Easter eggs about the characters and stuff, and it's super funny. So overall, I highly recommend the game. I think it's really decent. I think it's what we've needed for a long time. I, for the longest time, was just playing Beam. I was ripping Beam, downloading mods, and literally playing Beam like I would a game like this. I would spawn in the AI traffic and duck and weave. I don't have a wheel, I just have a controller, so, and I'm not going to invest in a wheel. When I was growing up, my dad had one, so I played games with pedals and wheels and fucking gear shifts, and that is fun, don't get me wrong. But if you are into casual anime aesthetic stuff, initial D vibe thing, I think you'll like this game. I think they did a really good job with it. I hope they add more songs to the soundtrack. I hope there's a little bit more emphasis on tuning and maybe a little bit more like flexibility in how you build your cars. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. That's just my first impression after playing it through the first time. It felt very linear. I'm upgrading my car to make it faster than the other guy's car. That was it. So that would be interesting in the future if there's like more grip oriented builds versus more like straight line speed builds. But it is like heads up highway racing, like flash your lights and go. So I really like that. That's the end of my rant. Tomorrow is the auto show in my city. Hopefully I'm going to be able to go and see that, check that out. Just ordered some Steelies for my RX-7 because I'm fucking broke. Yes, I ordered Steelies for my FC. But they are a very aggressive offset and they will work. And at this point, I just need wheels that fit without spacers. Because right now I have fucking ET42 with 20mm spacers. So, and they look like poop. And I just want something that will clear the 4-piston brakes, work with my 5-lit conversion, that can get me on the road, that's cheap, and I can wait until I have more money to get some nice real wheels. I do not want to rock, like, don't get me wrong. I would rock XXRs or Rotas if they weren't priced like fucking real wheels were priced 10 years ago. It's ridiculous. And I'm not going to run like poo-poo spec Canadian Tire rims on my FC. So I'm just going to do Steelies for now. So very excited about the car stuff in the summer, but it's nice to have a good game to tide me over in the winter. I recommend it. Tokyo Xtreme Racer. Very good. Very good, very good. Bye-bye.